Good morning. Welcome to Express Meditation to Enlightenment. 30 minutes doesn't seem like so much time, but sometimes it goes fast, sometimes it doesn't go so fast. I guess it just depends on preparation, being kind of prepared for the session. So last week we were continuing our meditations on the topic of refuge, looking at the objects of refuge. What are these objects? What does it mean to go to refuge? So we'll look past the meaning and we'll look at the practice. What are those mental contemplations that we should develop to bring the objects of refuge closer to our heart, so they're not just out there, but they're kind of like second nature, right? That we feel that connection with them. So there's some things we'll look at, and what does that mean to practice? What does it mean to hold in our mind stream? And so as we kind of prepare for this session, we watch our breath sometimes, and even watching the breath becomes kind of this like exercise out there. It's not really sometimes connected with us. I mean, it helps. So maybe today we can watch this breath, and when we watch the breath, we just focus on the exhale, not so much the inhale, but the exhale. And as we exhale, we think about releasing any negativity, any negative thoughts that we have, any bad feelings that we have in our body, if they're physical, or even maybe it's that gut feeling that something feels wrong, and we just breathe out this negativity, breathe out this pain, this suffering. So we just do that for a moment and just kind of, as we breathe out, we're releasing this pain, this suffering, this tension. And if you want, you can even visualize that it's like a black smoke exiting your body, this black smoke negativity. So whatever is suitable for you, but just focusing on this exhale that we're releasing. So just do that for a moment, for about a minute. And then we think about our motivation, thinking about developing our minds on the path to enlightenment, to really make refuge first nature, to really believe in these objects of refuge, because this is the doorway to our progress on the path to enlightenment. And we're on this path to help as many sentient beings in the world, in the universe, in the 10 directions. And not only human, but all the sentient beings that we can see, all the animals, the insects, but also the sentient beings that we can't see, that might be microscopic. There's just countless beings. So we can make those beings be our motivation for our training. And not forgetting that we are also one of those beings. So we're not excluding ourselves, we're including ourselves. So what is it to practice refuge? So if we've already taken refuge, we do this recitation and we took refuge vows. So we've done this part, um, but that's not it. It's a continual practice, and if we don't follow the practice of refuge, then there's no point in actually reciting refuge, because it's not active, it's not in effect. It's just superficial. So for each of the objects of refuge, there's positive and there's negative practices. So there's things that we want to do, and there's things that we want to not do. So looking at the first object of refuge, the Buddha, right? The the ultimate teacher of the Dharma. So what's to be stopped or not followed is having other teachers that don't follow the teachings of the Buddha. So we need to abandon these other teachers, or abandon teachers of other ideologies, methodologies, religions. It's not just sectarianism that's to be avoided, but it's more the danger of confusion. Now we're losing sight of the goal, So it's kind of like if one is driving through the countryside and we're getting lost, and then we stop, and we ask for directions, and we get these directions from a local person, and then we continue on, and then we start having doubt, and then we stop again, and we ask another person for directions, and then we continue on our journey. And it's like we're getting instructions, we're going a direction, we're getting a little lost, we're getting more instructions from another point of view, and then we're getting even more lost. So we need to take one set of instructions, one set of advice, and follow these, because we don't want to become confused. It's kind of like there's two roads you can take, one on the left or one on the right, but you can't take them both at the same time. So you need to take one and stick with it. And then the other danger that we need to be aware of and to avoid is that um, we might find a teacher or even a god that is temporarily helpful. And because this teacher seems to be helping one very much, you're making very good progress. Um, the teacher can sometimes feel like he's better than the enlightened one, better than the Buddha. And there's a danger that we take refuge in this teacher. Refuge in a teacher that is not enlightened and is not superior to the Buddha, and then that can lead us to become lost. So we have to check and be mindful of who we're taking instructions from. So those are the aspects of what to avoid in taking refuge in the Buddha. And then there's the positive side. So what's to be adopted, what's to be taken on board. So the we're we're exposed to many Buddha images, right? Where we have statues and photos and digital images, even um, the reflection in the mirror of a Buddha image. So all of these images, we should pay respect to them or hold them respectfully in our minds. Just as if they are the Buddha themselves, because they're representations. So what does that mean? And we shouldn't put these objects on the floor. We shouldn't sit on them. We shouldn't put them under our bed. We shouldn't treat them in a disrespectful manner of any way. Because this disrespect, and it kind of degenerates our refuge. And then it leaves negative imprints on our mind stream. So this also means, um, we shouldn't purchase or acquire more images than we can take care of, right? Because we need to be respectful to each of these images. So we have so many that we don't know what to do with, and we end up disrespecting them because it's just too much for us to care for. So we have to be careful to have just the images that we can care for. And then we have the Dharma. So what are these negative practices in relation to the Dharma that we need to avoid? So in general, it's to avoid acting in a way that's contrary to the Dharma. So if we take refuge in the Dharma, but then in our everyday lives, we're continuing to behave in a completely different way, that's opposed to the Dharma, then the Dharma refuge, it doesn't really have any meaning, right? Of course, we have our mental defilements or delusions that lead us astray, but um, we need to make sure that our actions aren't completely going against the Dharma. But maybe more specifically, we can look at a couple aspects of the Dharma that are really important. So like um, to avoid this intention of harming other sentient beings. And to avoid the actual actions that harm these beings. So this abandonment of harming, it shouldn't be partial. It shouldn't be uh, only covering some of the beings, but not all of them. Only those close to us, but not those far away. Only human beings, but not animals. It's not like that. We have to hold this abandonment of harming and extend it to everything, everyone, every being, without exceptions. So this is the mm, abandonment that we're looking for. This is the protection of our mind, of following the Dharma, following the teachings. And now, what about the positive? The positive way of upholding the Dharma refuge. So similar to the Buddha images, we want to pay respect to the written um, Dharma, the printed Dharma, the the words that are explaining the Dharma, and we hold them and respect it, not as just mere words, not as just paper and text and prints, but we're holding them in the respect that this printed Dharma is the Dharma itself, is the Dharma refuge itself. And it doesn't just apply to the 84,000 sutras, the commentaries from Chandrakirti, Nagarjuna. No, it's also your notes, all of our notes that we take during teachings, even a single page of notes. And we're very exposed to all of this paper and text. We have lots of it, right? So we have to be really careful not to disrespect it and think about where do we have this Dharma. So maybe we have some old notes that we don't use anymore. And we say, oh, maybe we don't need them. Then we shouldn't just throw them in the garbage. Um, but we should burn them. And we should make sure that we don't uh, step on our notes, our texts. We don't sit on them. We don't keep them in low places, but we keep them high. High and respectful. I think you're not supposed to even stack anything on top of your Dharma texts, not even your mala. So I think a lot of us we do that quickly. The text becomes a silver platter for our mala. But the Dharma is has more respect than the mullah. So tech should be higher than the mullah. And then we have the third object of refuge, so our sangha, our community. So the negative practices that we want to avoid or rely on um, is to not to follow people that are not following the Buddhist path, because then it's similar to taking a teacher that's not on this path. We're just going to get confused. And if we have um, ourselves surrounded by all of these friends that are on a different path, that'll lead us astray. It'll lead us away from the Buddhist path. So we don't want to have too close ties to them. It doesn't mean that we can't be friends with them, that we can't be friendly with them, that we don't show them respect. No, it doesn't mean that. But we shouldn't put ourselves in their hands. That we shouldn't always follow their advice. And then um, within our community, um, we shouldn't base our relationships on attachment or aversion. So this community should be purely based on those that are you know, conducive to your path, that are supportive of your path, that help you. And the companions that we can really trust. Those are the Arya Sangha. So the realized beings on the Buddhist path. The next week we'll continue this a bit. There's 6 practices to follow for taking refuge. So we'll look at the 6 practices. But I think for the week to come to really think about the 3 objects that we just discussed and observe our minds about these objects, the Buddha. How are we reacting to the Buddha mentally, but also physically, and the same with the Dharma and the Sangha. And then just take a check every day and see how we're doing this in practice. I think reflecting is one way to observe our progress in our practice, um, and it's something to rejoice about. So, and if we notice that we're not doing what we aspire to do and following the three jewels, it's not to become depressed about, but it's a good reality check or reflection for us to see if we're doing those things and then see what we can change and being gentle with ourselves. So we dedicate this practice, this meditation on the three jewels. Um, may they become closer to our hearts. And in doing that, may we be more benefit to all the sentient beings, all those seen and unseen, so that we can one day help alleviate their suffering. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good to see everyone.